till the day I die.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the 6th episode of The Mindful Tangent. I'm your host, Sneha, and thanks for joining me for another week. We're officially in March. Last week was leap year. As you guys know, what happens during leap year? We celebrate the 29th of February. We don't really celebrate it. No one does anything. But you know who does celebrate it? People whose birthday's on the 29th. Imagine your birthday is on the 29th. I mean, think about every year you're trying to celebrate your birthday, but really it doesn't happen. I had actually a teacher in 8th grade, my Spanish teacher, and she told us that, oh yeah, I think that year was a leap year, something like that. And she was explaining to us that, oh, my son actually was born on the 29th on a leap year. So then they try to celebrate his birthday either the day before or the day after. And then obviously the year that it actually happens, it celebrates. But there was a funny thing on Good Morning America where I guess they invited or people just showed up. I think the people were invited, but everyone that was born on February 29th, and pretty much they ask, what is your real age? And like what, and they hold a sign too of what their other age is. For instance, 28 years old, right? Actually, you're 28 years old. You know, you went around the world 28 times, right? Around the sun. Not the world, but 28 times. But the amount of times your actual birthday was celebrated was maybe 7. They'd be like, oh yeah, I'm 10 years old, but I'm 58, something like that. So it just sounded funny and looked funny, but I don't think I know anyone that was born on a leap year. I'm really curious now, because then like if you need to announce it or something, well, I guess no, it's officially on a piece of paper, but like you forget, it's fine because it never happened. Now it's like, oh, at least you just have to remember every 4 years, but the rest of the 3 years you can be like, happy belated birthday, happy early birthday, just to get it out of the way. Anyways, a few topics today. The first topic is the Wendy's dynamic pricing. Have you guys heard about it? So a few news articles have already talked about it. I believe it was Wednesday is when it was posted, and the media has changed this naming to, instead of dynamic pricing, to surge pricing. What this dynamic pricing is, and let me read it from the article because it's quotes from Wendy's itself, is a practice known as dynamic pricing will begin in testing in 2025. Wendy's recently revealed in an earnings call it's part of a $20 million investment in new digital menu boards at its U.S. restaurants that enabled them to change prices depending on demand. Few details were released about the change, but Wendy's CEO Kirk Tanner said the new menus will let the fast food chain test more enhanced features like dynamic pricing and day part offerings, along with AI enabled menu changes and suggestive selling. That's a little creepy though. Enabled, like, so when I just show up, will it just read my license plate? Like, oh yeah, this girl gets the chicken nuggets every single time. Maybe that could be it. Anyways, as I told you before, within 24 hours, everyone was calling it the surge pricing. Because think about it. Someone says dynamic pricing and they tell you, hey, depending on the time you show up to like any fast food, or this is specifically for Wendy's. And for those of you who don't know, Wendy's is just pretty much a McDonald's, but different kind of McDonald's. Pretty much like burgers, chicken sandwiches, all that. And chicken nuggets. Can't forget my chicken nuggets. So when you first hear this and they're saying time, let's think about it. What would your first thing think of? You're thinking, well, if it's more in demand, they're going to want to charge more for the price of like a meal, for instance. So for instance, let's just say chicken nuggets meal was $10, right? So does that mean that during lunchtime around 12 to 1, it's now going to be $12 because of dynamic pricing? So because the media was, you know, not just the media, everyone when they heard it, they were just like, what? It kind of blew up. So they actually responded after and said in a statement Wednesday, Wendy's clarified that dynamic pricing will include new menus that could offer discounts that's a fun word, that could offer discounts at slower times of the day, denying the company will raise prices during peak demand. That was everyone's main concern, right? Because if you guys are ever at a rest stop, right? Near my town, there is a rest stop. And it actually got on the news for the prices being absolutely insane. So one time we were coming from the airport and I haven't been to this stop in such a long time. And I'm just like, okay, let me casually go through and get some chicken nuggets from back from the airport. All of a sudden, for one meal, this is McDonald's, by the way, $20. 20, and I literally was in shock. I remember the lady was like $20, and I'm looking at her like, and I'm like, wait, $20? She's like, yeah. And then she repeated back to me what I said, like meaning the menu item that I said. So I was like, because I'm thinking, oh, she must have added something by mistake. No, it was $20. And the reason why it's like similar to like the gas pricing at a rest stop, they can choose. I mean, I'm wondering if it's a range, but they can pick what their pricing is of that store, because it's kind of the idea that, hey, if anyone's stopping here, they're stopping. It's not like, for instance, I lived close by, so I said like, oh no, thank you, and just left. But for other people, they are traveling. So when they stop there for gas or when they stop there for food, they're like, okay, well, I have no other choice, or I don't know any other choices, so I'm gonna pay the double the fee. And what's crazy is like I'm pretty sure near that place too, if you take an exit, like within a few minutes you get to McDonald's. So that's an even crazier portion. But obviously not everyone has that luxury of like, oh, okay, what's near me? You know what I mean? When traveling long distance and so forth. Anyways, that was what I was thinking. I was like, oh my gosh, is this what's gonna happen? And also, how is dynamic pricing determined? So what I'm saying is that, for instance, corporates deciding it, and corporates doing like a data analytics on like all the areas, but obviously every area is different, right? So for instance, even in New York, the city, right? That's different analytics compared to maybe a suburban town. And then I'm thinking, okay, we all know what's going to happen. Not we all know, but pretend 12 to 1 is really demand, and that's what their data tells them. So then the prices stay according to them at $10, right? Then at 1 o'clock, starting to like 3 or ending at 3, excuse me, the prices drop down for the same meal to $8. If you were somebody, wouldn't you just wait for your lunch for like another hour? Because you're like, well, I'm saving $2. Why not? Do you know what I mean? So then my next question is, if that's the case, then wouldn't then the dynamic pricing change again? So it's like, how often is it being reevaluated? Because obviously with technology and everything, things can be like instant, right? So is every day it's going to be different? Like one day it's 12 o'clock, you get this much cheaper, or another day it's 3 o'clock, another day it's 5 o'clock. Like what is, how? I mean, obviously in 2025, when it comes out, I guess we'll all get an understanding, but it's going to be really interesting to see, because I think what will happen is that there's going to be times that are cheaper. Of course, the people that cannot will not buy, like, will still come at a certain time to get lunch, right? Or breakfast or whatever, dinner at any of these restaurants, right? But then there's other people who have luxury of time. Luxury of time meaning like not everyone has a set lunch, right? Like for me, I don't have a set lunch time. I can take lunch whenever I want to take the lunch, whatever, obviously if it's appropriate time and not in a meeting. But, then wouldn't just people just go for the cheaper option? And the reason why I'm just overthinking maybe, and maybe it's just very simple and they're just going to keep it static. But the fact that they said AI is curious how that's going to go, just because if it's, as I said before, if people learn that it's cheaper an hour later and then they go an hour later, and now more people are going an hour later than the original busy time, then in a month, will that now be the new busy time? And then that one will be more expensive? Do you see where I'm going with this? Like it's just a non-ending, like, revolving door. Now, of course, I'm assuming this is not going to happen everywhere. Maybe major cities like New York City and so forth, because New York City just in and of itself has so many McDonald's just in the city. But yeah, if you didn't hear about that, definitely read up about it, the dynamic pricing and how that works. And I'm very curious about this menu. I didn't honestly read, I stopped at dynamic pricing and I'm like, what? But the AI menu, that means they have to be. Like, what else would, you're saying that you can personalize the menu? What does that mean to you? That means there's something that when you come up to a menu, it tells you like the recommendations. Like, what can it be? How would it know? Unless it's like they're asking you to like join a rewards program or something, but I doubt it. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be like, oh, they're gonna scan your face and then they're gonna be like, oh, we remember you from this place. You got chicken nuggets, so we'll recommend you chicken nuggets again, or we're starting something new. Or is it like, oh, if you go to the drive-through, are you gonna memorize my number plate? Like, there's so many things and so much information that if a restaurant like that is going to access, is that safe? And I know that's going oh, is everything safe? Yeah, to a certain extent I get it, but like things like a fast food joint, do you really need that? Do you need to like know or recommend things to people which honestly still doesn't make sense because if you're brand new to Wendy's, like for instance, my husband, like when he's going to some of these restaurants, it's his first time going. So it's not like, oh, he already has a preference choice. Do you know what I mean? So is it really, really good? Or yeah, because like how are you gonna know what do we order? It's just gonna be very interesting. But that one will soon come. And once I read on that, maybe. But hopefully we'll see in 2025 how that looks. The next topic is plane etiquette. So have you guys watched Big Bang Theory? You know, Sheldon Cooper, Leonard, Penny, and like the whole gang. Good show. So there is a main character named Penny. Her name is Kaylee. I'm gonna pronounce the last name. Kuko. I think that's great. So she has a baby, right? And she actually recently went on to a like a Jimmy Fallon show. I don't know if it's Jimmy Fallon or some night show or where she was doing an interview pretty much. And during that interview, she was talking about her baby, and the baby is less than a year old. So her and her husband were traveling with the baby for the first time on a plane. Yes, plane. And she was talking about how when she was talking, you know, she's explaining it a certain way. And I think there are key words. So, okay, let me explain to you how she was explaining the whole story and how it was. So her baby is less than a year old, and it's the first time she's bringing her baby on the plane. And then what she was saying was that, you know, her baby only sleeps with a sound machine, which creates this white noise. And if you don't know what a white noise is, kind of like the whoosh or like rainfall, you know what I mean? Like those kinds of noises to kind of like relax and make you fall asleep. And her baby, I guess, sleeps with that. They tried making her sleep without the white noise machine, and it didn't work. And the baby was wide awake and fussy and all that stuff. Then what they ended up doing was they turned on the machine. Like she brought the machine with her. According to her, when she played it, she could not hear it. Like that's how loud the plane was. So then what she proceeds to do is put it near the baby's ear. And of course, once the baby heard it, after a while, like the baby fell asleep. Okay. And the thing was, a few short minutes later, a hostess comes up to her, an air hostess, and tells her like, hey, people are complaining about the sound machine and like if you can turn it off. And I don't know if she said no, but what she said was her husband's face turned red and because he was getting angry. And he said, like, if that person wants to hold their baby and make them fall asleep, then yeah, go ahead. It's absolutely fine. And then she proceeds to let us know that they did not turn off the sound machine. Like, what would you do? Like, both in the perspective of the parent and both as a passenger. For me personally, I have my headphones similar to this, but if I plug it in, I don't hear that sort. Like even the plane noise, like you know how it's like, it's like after a while you don't even realize you're hearing the because it's so normal at that point. But I put my headphones in and it's sound resistant. Why was I gonna say sound resistant out of all things? What is it called? Sound. Oh my god. I forgot. Anyways, it's sound something, soundproof, whatever. And then I'll play music or watch, you know, something like a TV show or anything like that, right? So I'm playing that, so I don't hear anything, right? I'm just always prepared because if not, I'll just have to sleep. And even for me personally, I've had times where like my headphones run out of battery, so then I'm just there, but like all the noises, like for instance, yes, I've been on a plane where babies cry, but like first of all, the baby's usually not near me; they're like a little bit distant. And when I tell you, I mean, maybe it's because anytime I hear a baby, it's usually like a long distance trip to like India. I don't hear it. The plane is louder than the baby, okay? And like the baby is like, like it's so like you can hear it, but it's not annoying. But now, of course, like I'm not like the closest to the baby, so maybe that's different. But like I'm just like, am I really gonna complain? Because I've seen people's faces before. I've seen them and they look so annoyed, especially on these local planes. They look so annoyed that they're near a baby. And I'm just like, I really don't care. As long as the baby don't throw up on me or poop on me or something, I really do not care. Because at the end of the day, it's a baby. I can see someone getting more upset than a toddler, not even a toddler, like, you know, like 4, 3, 5 age, those numbers were not in order at all. But like that age where they don't understand that there's a person in front of them and they kick the seat, those are the kids I do not want. I remember one time, for me it wasn't kicking, this one kid just like kept pushing his shoes onto my seat, and he was really digging into my back, and I was just like, oh. But because he wasn't kicking, it didn't bother me. But like if he was kicking, I would have gotten upset. But like a baby crying, it's like babies can't communicate. The only way they know how to communicate is crying, laughing, like, those emotions. But they don't know how to like say like, oh, this hurts, I need to go eat this, all this stuff, right? And already probably the parents are going through so much as to bring the baby with them, and it's not like they have a choice. I feel like a lot of people think that, oh yeah, take care of the baby or bring them somewhere else, or go, like, what do you want me to do? Go underneath the water and travel to go see my family? What are you, crazy? I'm not my family, but like for them, the only thing I would say is in this particular situation with the sound machine, everything's opinion based, right? Opinion based meaning, was it really not that loud, or are you thinking it's not loud? Because I feel like some parents, they're so used to hearing certain noises, like even me, like when I hear certain noises, like even when my dog barks, it's just like I don't even really hear it because I'm so used to hearing him bark when he's outside. As parents, is the noise is more you're used to hearing the barking, or is it barking? So as parents, is it more you're used to hearing the noise and you think it's soft, or is it truly like you can't hear it? The reason why I say that is because like I feel that certain noises we hear like in our houses and all that stuff, we may be so used to hearing it that after a while we just like zone it out, right? And I feel like that's obviously common with parents too. They probably are used to hearing that sound machine because it helps with their baby, right? But like, is that the same for other people? And is it loud? Now if it's soft, obviously then all things are out the window. The person complaining is just trying to have it their way. If not, what do you do? Because then the only other thing is, I've seen it like the Jonas Brothers, their children, when they come to the concert, or anyone artist, if they have children come to their concert itself, they have these headphones, kind of like what you're seeing now, but more like a cup, like this. And it's not like plugged in or anything. It's not like sound. I think it's to prevent the kids' ears to like blow out meaning like, hurt. So it's pretty much to prevent all that noise coming in. Either that, or like getting, if the white noise is what it is, and like, even getting like something like this or your own headphones and putting on the baby so they can hear the white noise, but not everyone else. That could be a compromise, but also it's a baby. So next is the topic on actually their podcast, but also a YouTube family channel, I think. Family meaning they record their lives vlogging. It's called the Unplanned Podcast. So what had happened was, it's a couple named Matt and Abby, and of course they have a podcast, they have YouTube, all the good 5 yards. So anyways, so Matt, the husband, what he had done was he recorded a TikTok video. Honestly, I thought it was pretty innocent, but it was pretty much a video of him recording himself cleaning, doing the dishes and all that, like, and taking care of the baby. In that video, and I think that's why it blew up, and that's what people were saying, is that people were getting upset because he had said these certain words on top of this video, if that makes sense. So what he said is, I don't usually clean the house. Don't be fooled by that. I don't usually take care of the kids. Don't be fooled by that. And then he goes on that they take more traditional roles. And what he was explaining is that he's cleaning all stuff. His wife went to the gym and was working out. Now, the thing is, the words really weren't that bad, in my opinion. I thought it meant, like, when I heard it, I thought he meant, like, hey, because a lot of times people, what they do is they pose. When I say pose, meaning, like, oh, look, I clean, I do this, even though they don't. And how I understood it was like, oh, I'm not trying to take credit for this. It's just I'm doing this so that when my wife comes home, she doesn't have stuff to do. Do you know what I mean? So I interpret it as that, but what other people were interpreting it as is that, like, oh, I don't normally do this. Well, this is not usually my job, that kind of way. And I could see how it could have interpreted that way. And like, people are like, well, you should make it your job. But it also depends, because I don't understand people that, okay, if you live like this, that is your choice. That is your happiness. You know what I mean? Like, everyone has their happiness of how their dynamics work. What I don't understand is a situation where people say they have traditional roles, right? This is the reason why I'm quoting this, is you'll see why. Is both people go to work and get full-time jobs. Pretend, as an example, one person, I don't know, is a scientist, and then another person is a mathematician. Okay, we had a mathematician and a scientist working together, or working. And they both, maybe, let's say that they both work a little bit more than 40 hours, right? I'm just going to an example, because there are people that say this, but they take traditional roles. So that means you're telling me that the female works, but then she does the rest of the work, meaning when they come home is that, like, they cook, they clean. So then what does the man do? Now that there's no longer traditional roles, because if the woman starts working, then I feel like the traditional role things cut off, Cut off meaning like, unless it's like, it's different if you say split your roles. Split your roles meaning like, okay, one person cooks. Maybe they're good at cooking. The other person does the laundry. Or you take turns. Like one person does this one day and the other person does this the other day. Like that makes more sense. But when people, like when someone says traditional roles, and I feel like that's a lot of people, I feel that the traditional roles really just came from like, hey, a woman stayed at home and a man went to work, right? So why is there a traditional role? Because the woman didn't go to work, so they would maintain the home. Whatever's happening at home, they would do. I think I read the post a long time ago. Just to give you an idea about what it is, it's like pretty much dads, and there are also situations where moms do it too, but pretty much dads, they will go and they're like, oh, every Saturday they will go golfing, right? Every Saturday they will go golfing. And this is not obviously every dad, of course not. They will go golfing for these particular dads and they will golf 3 hours. Let's say they wake up early in the morning and they start with their friends at 9 and at 12, right? 3 hours. Usually it is weird how all these stories are pretty much the same. It's kind of weird. Like after you read the Reddit post, you're just like, is this the same person? But it's not, because you can tell like the stories are different, but the same all at the same time. The wife pretty much like is upset because she never gets any free time. And there was another story too with the husband too, like the same exact situation, like they don't get free time. So then it becomes a situation of like, you know, we never get break. Hey, you go golfing all the time, like every single week or every other week. And the husband's response is, oh, well, I work. This is my only free time. But then if you think about it, you equally, if you're a housewife, right, and your husband is going to work, your husband also agreed that, I mean, in my mind, that, okay, you're taking care of the children, you're taking care of the house, so that's your work. So then in my head, that only however long that person works, that's however long it equates to. So for instance, 5 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, pretend the person works. Then I would feel like it equates, because I feel like stay at home husband or wife, their working hours are maybe a little bit different. After the kids come, before the kids go to school, all that stuff. Maybe it's untraditional working hours. But anyways, what I was trying to say was, it's like within those 5 days, you guys are equal. Equal meaning if that person works for 8 hours, decided that, hey, I work for 8 hours, the equivalence is you taking care of the house, cleaning, taking care of the children for that day. But then on the weekend, that's no. No meaning now you guys are equal. Now the other person doesn't have work, right? Because if you think about it now, for 2 days, that person that goes to labor and go to work in a company no longer has work. So then the other person just works 24/7? I don't think that's fair. So then now it's equal. Now that task of taking care of the home, taking care of the children now becomes two people's problems, and you got to split. And when I heard this, and thing is, what's insane is not the wives speaking up to to their husbands about like, hey, this is not fair. Like, I also want a break. The response after, it's like the fact that they're like, oh yeah, I work all the time, all that. And then this is the nerve. There was one post where the lady was like, oh yeah, I'm going out for this many hours. And what was the whole point of it was like she was getting upset about her husband because the moment that she stepped outside, the husband's like, oh, what am I going to do with the kids? You're a father too. I feel like a lot of people forget it makes both mother and father to make baby. It's not just one person. I understand in the very, very beginning, a mother can feed their child, right? Through like natural sources. But after that, everything else is equal. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, you have that bond, you know, the mother delivers the baby. Yes, the mother feeds the baby if they're able to. But after that, nothing else is valid. Nothing else is valid, meaning you are also a father. You also have your responsibilities. This is why it's important, both male and female, if you're raising both either a male or a female, to raise your child to help others and don't be a lazy bum and actually do something and not just be like staring and be like, what do I do? Because they are people and they're not going to live with you forever. They have to go out into society and live in society and eventually have their own family. So just remember that, okay? Because I feel like a lot of people don't remember that. You remember that these children will grow up, and depending on how they grow, they will treat their spouse like that, or they'll treat you like that, or they'll treat society. But yeah, if you ever hear a story or like a topic that you guys want me to talk about, please let me know. If you're born on February 29th, I'm sorry. Well, no, I'm not sorry. Why am I sorry? You got to celebrate your birthday. So I'm happy for you. But next year, I'm sorry. Let me know in the comments or reach out to me. Please don't. If you do enjoy this episode, please remember to like the video either on YouTube. If you haven't already, rate it on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Like the post, and of course, share the video on either your stories on Facebook and Instagram, or anywhere else on any social media. It would really mean a lot and help so much. I really appreciate everyone joining me on my 6th episode of The Mindful Tangents, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.